The Black Panther is the deadliest predator in Wakanda, possibly all of Earth. So what will happen when the deadliest predators in the universe arrive to take their Vibranium? Welcome to the Comicstorian Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then we read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to support the industry and go check them out at your local comic shop. Today is more of a full story as we cover all 4 issues of the Predator vs. Black Panther story that came out in 2024, and takes place after the Predator vs. Wolverine story that we covered on the channel. The Predators learned of adamantium and vibranium and are returning to gather the resource and become even deadlier. So can the Black Panthers stop them? This is Predator vs. Black Panther issues 1 through 4 by Benjamin Percy. I hope you enjoy. Somewhere in space, in the Wolf Star system, a great station hovers over a planet that has an atmosphere and is abundant in life. 2 rival clans vie for the claim to this fertile hunting ground. Each is led by a brother. Aboard this station, the brothers stand before their father in his throne room, the bones of great creatures displayed around them. One brother is powerful and proud, standing over his brother. The other is smaller, having been born with 1 leg. His robotic replacement clicks against the cold metal of the floor. Their father stands before his throne, his most prized possession in his hands. He lifts the metallic spear, a long-won hunting trophy that absorbs and expels kinetic energy. The father holds out the spear to the stronger of his sons, showing his favoritism. The smaller son turns away. He stalks from the throne room, going to prepare for the hunt. He will not back down from the challenge. Honor is at stake. The rival clans descend upon the planet, hunting one another. Though the hunt is hard fought, the larger of the brothers win, armed with his spear. In the end, the smaller brother and his clan are defeated. There is no honor in death, as the rival clan strings them up on totems as a sign of dishonor. Left alone, the smaller predator awakens. He knew the possibility of his defeat. He had struggled his entire life, knew that his body was born weaker, so he had chosen to be smarter. He grafted tech into his body, making himself stronger. He struggled briefly against the ropes that pin him to the totem. He flexes his arm and blades pop out of his wrists, severing the bonds that hold him. Meanwhile, in Wakanda, Okoye stares out into the jungle. Finally, she turns back to the hunting party and repeats the rules. Today's maneuvers come with a prize and a cost. The losers will take over the winner's palace duties for a month. She repeats, looking at both her Dora Milaje and the Hatu Zeraze. Whoever tags the Black Panther wins, but anyone who is tagged by our king will be removed from the field and returned to the ship, she instructs. The Hatu Zeraze laugh and joke about how the king will be no match for them. Okoye lifts her spear and raises an eyebrow at her soldiers. Mind your tongue. The Panther is the living manifestation of the will and determination of every Wakandan. If you believe he could fail, then you believe the same of our kingdom, she scoffs. The 2 groups separate and head into the jungle. The Hatu Zeraze slipped quietly through the canopy, their weapons at the ready. But one looks up too late at the sound of creaking branches, and the Panther descends upon them. A short time later, the Dora Milaje move quietly. Okoye readies herself as she senses danger, and the Black Panther leaps from the trees. He moves fast, knocking several of the royal guards away, but Okoye blocks several blows with her spear. I'll give you this. You lasted longer than the war dogs, T'Challa jokes. He prepares to strike, but his panther armor suddenly slides away from his face. My armor! It's been hacked! T'Challa gasps in surprise. He ducks under an attack by Okoye and glances to the edge of the trees, seeing his sister using technology to hinder him. Shuri! Shuri! He shouts with annoyance. Make your move, Okoye! My brother deserves to be humbled, the princess shouts. But T'Challa whirls and blocks another blow, knocking Okoye to the ground and finishing the hunt. He helps the captain of his guard to her feet, while Shuri once again brings up the idea of bringing the technology of Wakanda to the rest of the world, to the people that are suffering and need their help. How can we stand by when so many suffer? Shuri asks as the trio walk back through the jungle. T'Challa shakes his head. We cannot risk it. I will admit that you're smarter than me, sister, but that does not mean you are wiser, T'Challa says as they near the ship, but Shuri shakes her head and smiles. Let me show you something, brother, she says. Leaving Okoye behind, the two set off into the darkness of the jungle, with Shuri leading her brother to a cliff face they must climb. At the top, T'Challa's eyes widen as he sees several rivers and waterfalls flowing into a massive pool. Must be praised. What is this place? It is beautiful, he whispers. Shuri nods, motioning to the waterfalls around them. It is a holy place where currents flow together, she says. She points to a priest as he steps from the mists, a staff in his hands. Maji Kina is a seer from the river tribe, and he brings news of the water, Shuri continues. Meanwhile, in the Wolf Star system, the younger Yautja is moving across the battlefield. He knows the metal spear was what allowed his brother to win. He imagines what a set of armor made of the metal would allow him to do. It was won on a planet known as Earth, where they referred to it as Vibranium. He moves forward, retrieving a fallen helmet. He knows he must make himself stronger. He frees the other members of his clan, those that were dishonored by being strung up. He doesn't believe that his clan's loss was honest. When the spear was given to his brother, the younger Yautja formed a plan. Hiding a ship on the planet's surface, he would journey to Earth, retrieve more of the metal, and become the ultimate predator. Their ship travels across the stars until it arrives at Earth. Scans showed that the energy signature of Vibranium can be traced to Africa. The Yautja steers his ship towards the continent, where they discover an energy shield is protecting part of the land. The shield was stronger than the ship's weapons, but the Yautja are smart. The ship was programmed to slip through the energy shield as if they weren't even there. It passes through, buzzing low over the trees of Wakanda. Meanwhile, the seer stands before King T'Challa. Show my brother what you have seen, Maji, Shuri says softly. The seer nods and stirs the waters, sending ripples, warning T'Challa of the suffering of the world, asking that he seek to help others. T'Challa sighs and turns to his sister. What would you suggest? He asks. Shuri looks to her brother, suggesting they send envoys and aid the other countries and help build hospitals and universities, possibly integrate their vibranium technology to help these countries as well. But T'Challa shakes his head. Vibranium is not a shareable resource, he explains, telling her that he is worried that the world will misuse their technology, that they need to be smarter. The two begin to argue, unaware that someone is watching them. Their heat signatures stand out on the visual spectrum. T'Challa suddenly pauses in his speech, sensing something is out of place. He turns and stares at the sky, but there is nothing there. Aboard their ship, the younger Yautja watches the scans. He stares at the Panther armor, knowing that the vibranium is woven into the material. He turns, ordering two of his party to scout the area. The rest gather their weapons and armor, preparing to locate the source of the vibranium and hunt the champion of these people. The Yautja leader slides on his helmet and readies his spear. They were going hunting. T'Challa stares at the sky and notices the birds, seemingly avoiding something. But one slams into something unseen and drops into the woods. he suddenly leaps into action, ordering Shuri to get the Elder to safety. "Something is wrong. We will speak later," T'Challa says. He moves through the jungle quickly, reaching out to Okoye to warn her of a possible intruder. But the comms suddenly go dead, and nothing but static answers him. T'Challa reaches the fallen bird and studies its broken body. "What has come into my kingdom?" T'Challa whispers, unaware of 3 red dots sliding over his body. A blast rips from the jungle, slamming into T'Challa and knocking him from the tree branches. His armor saves his life, but he plummets to the ground and slams into the moist earth beneath him, sinking slowly into a swamp. Meanwhile, Shuri has returned to the palace. She is angry with her brother's words, still believing that they need to help the world. She boards a vessel and prepares to leave. "We will open our doors and share Wakanda's resources," Shuri insists as she steers the ship towards the energy barrier. She taps a button on the comms, ordering Control to open the barrier for her. Inside the Control office, the worker moves to open the shields, but blades suddenly slice through his chair and into his chest. He gasps for a moment before falling onto his console. The Yautja growls and pushes the body away, his long fingers tapping on the controls. The predators don't want anything to interrupt their hunt. Flying her ship, Shuri can hear the sound of the controller's gasps. She turns the ship around and prepares to re-enter Wakanda, but the Yautja taps a button and the shield closes just as Shuri's ship comes into contact with it. The energy shield lights up as the ship explodes into a fiery blast, the debris crashing to the jungle below. Meanwhile, the Dora Milaje have set out into the jungle in search of their king, unaware that something stalks them from above in the shadows of the treetops. The Dora Milaje move through the swamp cautiously, their spears at the ready. Their king, the Black Panther, had warned them of trouble before comms had completely gone offline. The Dora Milaje are well trained, prepared for anything, but they are unaware of something watching them from above. Their heat signatures are outlined in the Predator's vision. Okoye, leader of the Dora Milaje, stops, reaching out with her senses. She has lived in Wakanda her entire life. She knows the sounds of the wild, of every creature that moves around her, but it is the absence of something that alerts her. The birds do not sing in the trees. Suddenly, a rope reaches down from the trees and pulls one of the warriors away. Okoye reacts a second later, ordering her warriors to look up. "Eyes up! Cluster together! Back to back!" she shouts. The warriors raise their weapons, following Okoye's lead and firing electric blasts from their spears into the tree line. Something heavy and invisible falls into the water at their feet. Okoye leaps forward, stabbing the creature with her spear. The cloak drops away, and the warriors stare in shock at the alien hunter. But Okoye pulls her weapon free. "Whatever this thing is, there are more of them," she warns. Plasma blasts suddenly erupt from the treetops. The Dora Milaje is hit, and the others panic and scatter, rushing off into the jungle. Meanwhile, nearby, T'Challa pulls himself from the water. The plasma blast had struck his armor, but the Vibranium had saved him, and the attack had only rendered him unconscious for a moment. T'Challa regains his senses quickly and hears explosions ripping through the jungle nearby. He moves fast, breaking through into a clearing to discover dead Dora Milaje and predators. "What is the name of the beast?" he gasps. He inspects one of the wounded aliens, but a scream draws his attention. Rushing forward, he discovers Okoye trapped in a metallic net that continues to tighten. But before it can kill her, he slashes through it with his vibranium claws. "Where are they?" he asks the warrior. She motions to the trees. "They are nowhere, my king, but they are everywhere," she whispers. T'Challa looks up as the jungle wavers around them, and one of the Yautja begins to stalk forward. Meanwhile, outside the protective shield of Wakanda, Shuri has recovered. She pulls herself from the crashed hovercraft and helps the elder Majikina to his feet. "We're all right, but I'm not certain I can say the same for Wakanda," Shuri says, staring at the shield that has blocked them out from their home. She bangs on the shield, irritated that someone has blocked them out. Finally, she uses her own computer to interface with it. "I'll attempt to access the coding, but it's been overridden by something I don't recognize," Shuri whispers. The Majikina moves to the river, offering to help by looking into the waters. He reaches down and stirs the liquid. Images play before his eyes of creatures from another world hunting them. "Shuri, I see the death of Wakanda," the Majikina whispers to her, fear playing across his face. She turns to comfort him, but something reaches through the shield and grabs her, pulling her back. Meanwhile, in the jungle, the Predator rushes at Black Panther, but T'Challa's senses are enhanced, and he moves quickly against his unseen foe, lashing out and striking the creature's helmet, breaking its cloaking device in one blow. The Yautja tumbles away into the swampy waters. Getting to its feet, the Predator draws a blade and prepares for a fight, but it is unaware of the creature that stalks it from behind. "Now you are the prey," T'Challa says, as a mighty crocodile raises out from the water behind the alien, biting down with its powerful jaws and pulling it under. T'Challa watches for a moment as the waters thrash and froth, before finally becoming still. The green of the Yautja blood mixes with the dark waters. Finally, he turns back to Okoye. "My king, when they attacked, we forgot our training. Everyone's scattered," she whispers. T'Challa helps the warrior to her feet, and the two set off into the jungle. "There is no time for regret. We must gather those of us still alive," he tells her. What they don't know is that the leader of the hunt watches them from the trees, now armed with a Vibranium spear taken from one of the fallen Dora Milaje. A spear much like the one gifted to his brother. But the true prize would be the king's armor, which allowed him to survive 3 plasma blasts. The leader of the hunt moves through the jungle, traveling to the Great Mountain. It is here that he has discovered that which allowed his clan to become strong. An entire mountain of Vibranium. He stares at the vast cavern of the God Metal, and he knows that his clan will regain their honor. Somewhere beneath the Great Mound, the Yautja clan leader stares down at the lump of Vibranium in his hand. Around him, his hunters are taking away vast quantities of Vibranium. This will allow him to take control. This will give him the edge to take back his birthright from his brother, to defeat his father. He looks around briefly, imagining his brother's skull adorning his throne. Meanwhile, other hunters are in the forest, hunting the great warriors of Wakanda and the predators that stalk its lands. One hunter leans down over a fallen lion, his acid cleaning the flesh from a skull to adorn his armor. But a spear suddenly pierces through his chest and he falls. Okoye steps from the forest and retrieves her spear. Her momentary fear as her sisters fell has drifted away. Her warrior spirit has returned, and she knows the jungles of Wakanda as she knows her own body. She pauses for a moment, aware that she is watched from the treetops. One of the Yautja targets her back, but the Black Panther descends upon him. T'Challa grabs the alien from behind and twists sharply, cracking the creature's neck and dropping him to the jungle floor. Okoye turns to her leader, unsurprised at his arrival. "Black Panther, I was worried you were lost," she says softly. T'Challa nods as he stands. Other members of the Dora Milaje join them quickly. "You were right to worry. Each of us has almost died a dozen times," he says. He leans over the body of his fallen enemy. "These predators caught us unguarded, but now we know the face of our enemy," he says. He holds up the creature's mask. "We have learned they are hunters, but why have they come to Wakanda?" he asks. He looks to his warriors, explaining that the creatures must have come for the Vibranium. "We must get to the Great Mound," T'Challa says before leading the Dora Milaje off into the woods. Meanwhile, just outside Wakanda's border, Shuri is struggling as Yautja attempts to pull her back through Wakanda's shield. She shouts for the Majikina to help her, but a spear is shoved through the shield and stabs him through the eye. Yautja roars and lifts Shuri off the ground, choking the life out of her. "Damn you! You fight like a coward!" Shuri gasps. She braces herself against the spear and twists, pulling the creature back out of the cloak. She throws him to the ground and twists free of his grasp. "Come and face me! If you need to hide to kill, that makes you a coward, and I am not afraid of cowards," she bellows. She reaches out and pulls the spear from the Majikina, apologizing to the old man as she prepares to fight. The Predator leaps to his feet and draws his throwing disc. He stands, whirling the disc through the air, slashing Shuri across the arm. Shuri lets out a cry of pain, but she lifts the spear and quickly taps a button on the comms. "Whoever might be listening, this is Princess Shuri of Wakanda. We are under attack, and my nation needs your help," she says. A bellow of rage escapes her lips, and she rushes forward, meeting the Predator's assault. Meanwhile, T'Challa is leading his forces through the woods, but images begin to come back to him of a vision that he had when he fell to the initial attack. As he lay there in the swamp, his mind had traveled to another world, a place of the Panther's visions, where he met his grandfather. "T'Challa, they call me Ajuri the Wise, but they also called me paranoid," Ajuri informed him. But his grandfather explains that this is not the first time predators have come to Earth. "They came to hunt, but they stayed for the Vibranium. Close to 500 of us died before it was over. We burned their bodies, but we studied their weapons," Ajuri tells him, explaining that their tech helped Wakanda develop their shields and weapons. In the present, T'Challa has arrived at the Great Mound. Discovering the Yautja ship, he descends upon them, defeating the two younger predators quickly. "They caught us unaware before, but now surprise is our weapon," T'Challa tells his Dora Milaje. "Follow me into the dark of the mines," T'Challa says. But the Black Panther still knows little of these hunters from another world. In his haste to continue his assault, one of the guards is left alive. The Yautja taps a button on his helmet, warning his clan leader of the impending attack. The leader nods and turns to his hunters. They know that the Black Panther is coming, and in the darkness of the Great Mound, the Yautja are ready for blood. Meanwhile, outside Wakanda, Shuri stands over her fallen enemy, his body bathed in green blood as she pulled free her spear. Shuri stares at the monster, her curious mind taking over as she reaches down and pulls off his mask, revealing the alien beneath. "Bast, you're as ugly as you smell," she whispers. She pauses for a moment before slipping the mask over her face, marveling at the Predator's advanced tech for tracking. But she whirls as something descends from the sky. "What now?" she snaps as she readies the spear. Sam Wilson drops to the ground near her, his wings folding inward. "Who are you?" Shuri demands. "Falcon," Sam tells her, explaining that he was in Africa to stop a weapons dealer, but received her distress call. "But you sure don't look like a princess," he tells her with a smile. Having survived the deadly Yautja-filled jungles, T'Challa, Okoye, and members of the War Dogs have arrived at the Great Mound. But T'Challa holds up a hand to slow his warriors. "We must stop here," he whispers to them. He motions to a hatch on the side of the main corridor. "Move to the maintenance hatch. We are too exposed in the main tunnel," T'Challa tells them as he pulls open the hatch. Warm air from deep within the great mound blows outward. These predators have bested us with surprise. Now, we will use the same tactic against them. This is how we'll descend to the main level of the mine, T'Challa says as he slips inside, ordering Achille and the other war dogs to watch their rear. T'Challa slips inside and descends to the lower levels, quickly followed by Okoye and another warrior of the Dora Milaje. The war dogs stand ready to protect their king, but a predator drone is watching them. "I spit in the eye of my enemy," the war dog shouts as he raises his rifle and fires. He moves down the corridor to confirm his kill, unaware of the laser mines that await him. As he passes through, the lasers ignite, slashing through his limbs. Achille quickly rushes to the sound of disturbance to find his warrior bleeding out on the floor. He crouches over his fallen comrade, promising to avenge him, but Achille is unaware of the predator standing over him, battle axe raised for the kill. Meanwhile, outside the Wakandan shield, Sam Wilson is trying to wrap his head around the fact that there is a technologically advanced African nation that the entire world hasn't heard about, and is currently being invaded by aliens? He asks as Shuri continues to work. Sam cocks an eyebrow at the princess and motions to the dead predator pinned to a tree. "I mean, this would all feel a little out of this world if it wasn't for this giant piece of ugly," he notes. She nods, smiling at her own genius as she finishes her work. She pulls on the mask and stalks up to the shield. "Their technology hacked ours, so I hacked theirs right back," she says, ordering Falcon to grab hold of her. The two get very close as she steps back through the shield. "I can only assume they're monitoring our security channels. If one of them stepped out of the shield, then one of them would have stepped back in," she says. Once back inside, she jumps into Falcon's arms and points to the great mound in the distance, ordering Falcon to fly. Meanwhile, below the great mound, T'Challa has arrived at the bottom of the tube, but there is a thumping sound behind him. He turns to find the headless body of Achille tumbling down the tube. "Okoye, they know we're here!" T'Challa shouts to his warriors as they leap out of the hatch. The Dora Milaje move fast, but one of the warriors' heads explodes from a plasma blast. Okoye whirls quickly, throwing her spear. Her aim is true and pierces through the hand of the attacking Yautja. In the tube, another predator leaps down and collides with Black Panther, but the warrior king wounds his attacker, and they both fall out of the hatch. The Yautja collapsed in a pool of its own blood. More of the creatures appear, attacking the two remaining warriors. But Okoye and T'Challa move quickly, taking down two more. But the rest hold back. "They're holding positions. Maybe that means they're finished?" Okoye notes as she readies her spear. But T'Challa shakes his head at the sound of heavy approaching footsteps. "Or maybe that means they're obeying the commands of another," he says as the clan leader appears, clad in ritual armor and carrying a Vibranium spear. The Predator leader stares at Black Panther for a moment before reaching up and removing his mask, revealing his mandibled face. Okoye moves to protect Black Panther. "Get behind me, my king," she whispers as she readies her spear. But T'Challa shakes his head, and he removes his own helmet and armor, much to Okoye's displeasure. "You are always there for me, Okoye, but I sense that this must be my fight," T'Challa says as he steps out. "Honor demands it. Lend me your strength by lending me your spear," T'Challa asks. He steps out and prepares himself. There is a pause as both warriors agree to the battle. The fight begins as the clan leader leaps forward with a roar, swinging his spear in a wide arc that T'Challa meets with his own, the impact echoing through the mound. T'Challa leaps away and prepares for another attack, but he doesn't have to wait long as the Predator rushes him again. But T'Challa leaps over the blow and kicks out at the monster, knocking him away. He whirls his spear around and disarms the alien creature before bringing the tip of the blade inches from his face. Do you yield? T'Challa shouts, but the monster twitches and blades pop out of his wrist mount. He twists and slashes T'Challa across the thigh, bringing him down. Okoye rushes to his side and the two warriors realize that they are surrounded, but they don't move in for the kill. T'Challa and Okoye are shocked when the predators disappear. The Yautja have what they came for. The clan leader has decided to leave the king wounded and plans on leaving with his Vibranium. They return to their ship and prepare to depart, but the clan leader cannot contain himself and sends a message to his father and brother, warning them of his imminent return. But the clan leader is unaware that Falcon and Shuri are chasing them. Sam pours on as much speed as possible, managing to fly alongside the craft for mere moments, but just enough time for Shuri to place the wrist computer on the hull, keeping it in place with the wrist blades. As the Predator craft leaves Earth's orbit, the wrist computer reaches the end of its countdown. Shuri has discovered the Predator bomb. T'Challa and Okoye watch the ship detonate over Wakanda. The sky showed the brilliant glow of the explosion. Though the ship was destroyed, the Vibranium survived, floating into Earth's orbit. But what the Black Panther doesn't know is that the Predator King and his favored son received the message and traced it back to Earth. From their war vessel, they could scan the Vibranium and its origins. And the two Predator leaders look down on Earth, prepared to do anything to gain the Vibranium and advance their arsenal into one that would rival any in the cosmos, including Earth's. The Predators may not have escaped with the Vibranium, but their message did reach the rest of their race, and now they are on their way to make themselves stronger. This universe will continue in 2025 with Predator vs. Spider-Man, and I want you guys to let us know your interest in continuing this in the comments down below. And of course, like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. I'm Dan with Comicstorian, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Benny.